Hey, I'm Staff Sergeant Mark Cole Collins, 34, from Fayetteville, North Carolina. If you've ever laced up boots in the dark, you know the sound your heart makes. Tonight I'm going to tell you how mine stopped on a battlefield and what I saw. If you're still with me after that, it's probably because you need this too. Quick brief before we step off. Convoy, dust, heat, then a flash like the sun. IED tears the road open, metal folds, time slows, and souls feel very close. They say the blast got us at 1447. All I remember is silence getting loud. I left my body in that silence and discovered it wasn't the end of the fight. You know how we memorize routes, frequencies, call signs? Turns out the heart has maps too, just written in light instead of ink. I rose above the MATV like a balloon cut loose from a child's hand. Saw my brothers moving, shouting, bleeding, refusing to surrender an inch. "Stay with me, Cole." Doc's hands pounded a rhythm on my chest plate. I watched him from the roof of the world and felt no fear, only clarity. The desert's heat flickered and the noise peeled away like old paint. Then came the dark that wasn't empty, like a field at night humming alive. A passage formed, no brick, no steel, more like still water pulled into shape. At the far end, a glow breathed, patient as a sunrise that knows your name. I didn't float. I was drawn, the way orders draw you when it's your turn. Every step was surrender without defeat, like stacking arms after victory. The farther I moved, the lighter I became, the lighter and more known. Grief fell off in plates, shame in buckles, old anger like gravel from boots. I carried weight I never said aloud, the names, the letters, the empty chairs. In that corridor, the weight turned to mist and then to memory and then to love. Was this death? If it is, it didn't feel like losing. It felt like finally stepping into the room that's been behind your door. The light didn't flash. It waited as if to say, "It's okay, take your time." And for the first time since boot camp, I didn't hurry. I listened. I reached the edge and the glow opened like hands cupped around a candle. But it wasn't light on me. It was light through me, bone deep and beyond. It knew my MOS, my first salute, my worst day, my best joke, my mother's laugh. It knew the version of me I tried to hide under gear and grit and rank. I remembered something ancient like a cadence from before sound was born. There were figures in that brightness, familiar the way home is familiar. I couldn't make out faces, but I recognized presence like you recognize a step. They didn't speak with mouths. The language was understanding itself. They welcomed me as if I wasn't late and I wasn't early, right on time. Love wasn't an idea there. It was the air. I breathed and became more real. And then a presence greater than the light within the light arrived. Everything in me stood at attention without being told to. No rank there, but somehow every heart knew who the commander was. Not fear, reverence, not distance, belonging so deep it melted edges. I bowed without knees, saluted without hands, and felt a response like dawn. "You are loved," the presence said, and the words were the world. In that brightness, time laid itself out like a map case on a table. Not years in order, moments in meaning, threads crossing like supply lines. I was walked through my life review, only walked isn't the right verb. I was shown, and I felt, and the feeling was truth that didn't accuse. Boot camp. I saw myself trying to be harder than I truly was. Felt my drill sergeant's intention, sandpaper kindness, not cruelty. First deployment, the day I froze for half a breath and then moved. The man I helped up felt my grip later, telling his daughter to be brave. The review wasn't a court. It was a classroom with mercy for walls. Every time I chose pride over listening, I felt the bruise I left. Every time I chose courage over comfort, I felt the warmth it gave. Ripples ran out from every word, every glance, every silence. Life's the range, I thought, and every choice is a round you can't unfire. But the presence didn't shame me for misses. It taught me how to aim love. Perfection wasn't the mission. Love was. And love is patient training. Receive, Give, repeat. The presence pulsed, like breathing in a new land. I saw the faces of the fallen not as ghosts, as whole. They weren't angry, they were vast, like mountains that remember storms. Some stepped forward, hands on my shoulders the way we steady a rookie. Keep going, they felt into me. Make our silence count for kindness, I asked without words. Why me? Why show me this much? The answer came soft and absolute. Because you asked. Because you're ready. Because the mission isn't finished. Because love keeps sending help. It felt like being reissued a purpose, but with a new ROE. Mercy first. Can I stay? I thought, and the wanting was tidal, pure and total. The presence held both my longing and the world I came from. I was shown my mother praying by a sink, grease on her hands, hope in her eyes. I was shown Doc swearing, sweating, crying, not giving up my breath. This love is for all, the presence said without sound. All means all, enemies too. That hit like a shock grenade. I saw a boy with a rifle he was smaller than, shaking in a doorway's dust. I saw his mother's hands years earlier rolling bread in a quiet kitchen. Understanding opened like a gate I'd defended for too long. Mercy wasn't weakness. It was strength spent in the right direction. Discipline wasn't anger. It was love learning to be useful under pressure. I realized I'd been strong for survival and was being invited to be strong for love. I stood deeper inside the light and thought I would dissolve into it. Instead, I became more myself than I'd ever been in a mirror. Child, the presence called me, and the word healed an old tear. I made you for love. Receive it. Give it. That is the whole war won. When orders come, you move. Even when your heart wants to bivouac forever. The presence made it clear without push. I would return. Return sounded like retreat until I saw its shape. Mercy redeployed. I felt joy and sorrow braided, like a flag at half-mast in a steady wind. The corridor reappeared, only now I could feel hands beside me. Those beings, family of the soul, brothers beyond unit patches, walked with me. Not alone, they felt into me. Not then, not now, not ever. Their silence was rich, fuller than any speech I've trusted under fire. I neared the far edge and saw the room I had left. Bright, frantic, fierce. Doc's face set in that stubborn kindness he carries like a second weapon. Nurse clutching my wrist like a lifeline she refused to cut. Monitors blaring, air thick with the smell of metal and dust and fear. My body looked small, tubes like vines, chest bruised a mean galaxy. For a breath I hesitated. Was this the vessel I wanted again? The presence answered a question I hadn't voiced. It still has purpose. And purpose, to a soldier, is gravity. I felt myself fall back and in. Re-entry wasn't soft. It hit like a parachute line snagging hard. Cold fire ripped my ribs. My lungs clawed at air like a drowning man. I heard, muffled, "We've got him back," and wanted to weep and laugh. Instead, a broken whisper. "Did I?" And Doc said, "Yeah, Sarge, you did." Days blurred in a hospital that didn't smell like deserts but like bleach. Pain came in waves and lessons in whispers that stayed when the pain left. I watched the ceiling and prayed without words, just a posture of listening. The presence was quiet as breath, faithful as pulse, alive as sunrise. I remembered the review and started writing letters I'd been avoiding. I called a father I blamed for leaving and told him I forgave him. He cried like a man who'd been carrying a ruck too long alone. We put it down together and decided to walk lighter 1 mile at a time. My platoon visited in shifts, boots scuffing tile, jokes hiding worry. We told stories the way you polish weapons, making sure they keep you safe. I saw how my smallest kindness had given permission for theirs. Leadership, I realized, is just love with accountability and good maps. The VA counselor asked if I saw a tunnel, a light, any beings. I nodded and watched her pen hover, unsure between boxes to check. I told her I didn't need language to be believed, I needed to live it. She smiled like maybe that's a box we should add. Integrates grace. Back home, everything looked brighter, like someone cleaned the glass. Not perfect. Pain still woke me before dawn like an unwanted reveille. But now the pain had meaning, like a scar that points to survival. I moved slower and noticed more. Birds, laughter, the sacred ordinary. I returned to base as advisor while my body rebuilt its bridges. New sergeants asked for tactics. I gave them tactics and a little theology. Treat discipline like love with a spine, I'd tell them before ranges. Look for the man in the target. Teach precision so mercy can be real. We started a quiet practice. After AARs, 1 minute of silence. Not dead air, living silence where the soul can take a roll call. Some guys cried, nobody mocked. Strength looks different up close. In that minute, I could feel the presence like a flag stirring on its own. I visited the families of our fallen with the permission of their CO. I didn't give speeches. I made coffee and listened to the names. Sometimes I told them I saw light that knows their sons completely. Not to fix their grief. Grief isn't a problem, but to sit in it with love. At night, I walked the neighborhood, paced with old pain and new peace. You learn roots again after trauma, even in your own town. Under streetlights, I practiced a prayer without words. Receive, give. If someone needed help, I stopped. If someone needed space, I honored it. Anger still visited, knocking like an old comrade with bad ideas. When it came, I invited it to sit and tell me what it feared. Anger is loud when ignored and quiet when understood. I learned to aim it at injustice and keep it away from people's faces. One afternoon, a young private asked if God picks sides in war. I thought of the boy in the doorway and the bread in his mother's hands. God picks people, I said gently. All of them. That's why love's the ROE. He nodded the way you nod when you don't fully get it but want to. Word spread that SSG Collins talks about mercy like it's ammo. I didn't mean to become anything. I only meant to be honest. But honesty gathers, like troops massing at a rally point. Soon we had a circle, vets and spouses and kids telling the truth safely. We laughed more than we cried, which felt like victory. We planted a tree by the armory and read a list of names. Wind moved through the leaves like pages turning slowly. I felt the presence again and saluted without moving a muscle. Years passed. Scars faded, some inside, some outside, none erased. I married the medic who once held my life with 2 stubborn hands. We argue about dishes and politics and laugh right after because we can. Love on this side is a workout. Love on that side is a homecoming. I don't pretend to be a saint. Ask anyone who's driven behind me, but I know where I'm going when my watch finally ends. I've seen the after-action report written in light and mercy. I've seen the commander whose orders are always love. If you're listening and your chest feels like a locked armory, breathe. Maybe you're carrying names, regrets, a city of empty chairs. Hand them to the presence I met in the place beyond the blast. You won't be judged. You'll be known, fully, then changed by being known. This is the hook I wish someone had given me years ago. You don't have to almost die to learn how to live softer and stronger. You can begin now, small, steady, like cleaning a rifle after rain. Get good at kindness the way you got good at everything else. Reps. Say the apology. Answer the phone. Hold your kid a little longer. Let the anger tell you what it's guarding and thank it for its service. Aim your strength toward protecting the vulnerable, not your image. Make peace with the ghosts by feeding the living with your mercy. On anniversaries, I drive to the range at dawn and stand without firing. I let the wind do the talking and the sun do the healing. I whisper the names and listen to how silence answers with presence. Then I go home and make breakfast because life is holy and hungry. If this finds you in a barracks, a hospital, a motel, a kitchen, know this. The light I saw can find you there without a map. It already knows your call sign and your hiding place. When it arrives, you'll recognize it like you recognize your own heartbeat. One day I'll step back through that corridor permanently. I won't be early or late. I'll be right on time again. I'll salute, and love will say, "At ease, child," and I'll finally be. Until then, I'll keep the mission. Receive, give, repeat. Dismissed.